Hi, guys. Welcome to Tickers, the new series on the Limitless podcast. This is where we discuss a lot of listed companies on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Now, my name is Thaon Simms, and over there on the other side of the screen is
Matthew.
Dr. Matthew Preston, right? Very humble individual. And today we'll be talking about Wigton Wind Farm. The ticker is WIG, WIG. And without further ado, actually, before we get into the video, we'd love if you guys would just click that subscribe button right below if you are watching YouTube, or follow us on whatever podcast platform that you use. Some people listen to us on Spotify and Apple Music, right? But it really means a lot to us. So without further
We're
ado,
trying to
let's
get
get
to
into it.
1,000 subs on YouTube. So you
Yes,
guys,
yes.
who could be that 1,000 sub? Big up. Let's see if we can get to that by the end of the year.
Now, today, as I said, we'll be talking about Wigton, but I want to take it like very, very simple to wind turbines. So I guess Preston will be sharing his screen. But we're going to just talk about how do wind turbines work. So wind turbines actually work by converting kinetic energy from the wind into electrical energy. So the blades themselves, they capture the wind energy as the wind blows against the turbine's blades, and then they cause them to spin. So now those blades themselves are actually connected to a rotor inside, and that also spins as the blades move. Now the rotor itself, it's connected to a shaft which turns a generator on the inside. And the generator is what converts the rotational energy that they get from the wind into electricity. And then the electricity is actually generated and sent through transformers and power lines to be used by homes. So it's sent to the grid, basically. And it's used by homes, businesses, other facilities, and so on. So that's just the high level, not super detailed way in which wind turbines work. Now, as we talk about, I'm going to Wigton itself, like the wind farm. Now, Wigton itself is a Jamaican company. It's Jamaica's largest wind energy facility. And it's actually one of the leading renewable energy companies in the entire Caribbean. And I said renewable energy companies. I'm not talking about wind farms. I think it is the largest in the Caribbean, but in terms of renewable energy companies, it's one of the biggest, right? And it plays such a crucial role in Jamaica diversifying its energy mix and moving away from using non-renewable sources like oil, and all those fossil fuels. Now, Wigton actually was established in 2004. It was a subsidiary of PCJ, Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, right? And Wigton's operations are actually split into 3 different phases. And you can see them right there. Wigton 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. And the dates themselves are also there as well, including the number of turbines. Nice. And they have the rate generating capacity per turbine. So this is basically for each turbine, how much can it produce? How much energy can it produce? That's the best way to put it. And as you can see, in terms of Wigton 2 and 3, they're way more efficient than Wigton 1, because if 9 turbines, each turbine can produce 2 megawatts of energy in Wigton 2 and 3, then it's way more efficient than Wigton 1, where it
more than double.
Exactly, more than double. So you can see the total generating capacity. And if you add them up, 20 plus 18 plus 24 is 62.7. That's 20.7. So the total generating capacity of Wigton itself is actually about 62.7 megawatts. And that's a decent amount. So in terms of revenue, it just generates revenue by selling the electricity it produces to JPS. JPS is Jamaica Public Service Company Limited.
Everybody's biggest friend.
Everybody's biggest friend. Hot in the news right now, right? Under fire by Daryl Vaz himself. And we still talk about legislation, regulations, all of those things. But they do it under what we call a PPA, which is a power purchase agreement. So the PPA ensures that, it's a stable revenue stream based on the amount of electricity generated and then delivered to JPS. So yeah, it has only one buyer of its products, which is JPS, and we'll talk about why. And the company, it benefits from the Jamaican government's push towards renewable energy, right, which aligns with global sustainability goals and so on. Because in other countries, other big corporations, they buy carbon credits from companies like Wigton and so on. So yeah, and I talked about the 3 different phases, etc. So in reality, a lot of these renewable energy companies, their operations, they really and truly reduce the country's carbon footprint. Because a lot of us, I mean, the way the world is going now in terms of global warming and so on, a lot of companies are now trying to replace fossil fuel based electricity generation. Some companies have solar panels. Some companies have windmills and generate electricity via wind power. Some companies themselves just are way more efficient by having different, you have like combined heat and cooling. You have a lot of different other turbines themselves trying to generate power very efficiently. So yeah. So that is Wigton. There's some stuff I want to talk about too. I guess we can go into JPS as being the single buyer. Yeah. They hold a non-exclusive, as you can see, they're designated as the single buyer of electricity in Jamaica. So that means they're the sole entity responsible for purchasing electricity generated by IPPs. IPPs are independent power producers. And they distribute it to customers, consumers, sorry, like me and you, Preston. Well, maybe not so much Preston, but yeah, like me and the rest of most of Jamaica. The act actually mandates that JPS enters into a PPA, a power purchase agreement, with IPPs. I know there are a lot of abbreviations, so independent power producers like Wigton, just to ensure that electricity is actually generated from renewable and other sources, and that gets integrated into the grid, so we can all use it. So JPS holds responsibility for maintaining transmission and distribution across the island. They're supposed to ensure that the network is reliable, efficient, safe, all of those things. And all of these things come from something called the Electricity Act that was done in 2015. So it outlines specific roles and responsibilities for key stakeholders in Jamaica's electricity sector, including the minister, yes, the OUR, the GPE, and so on. So we're going to talk about all of those. But I just want to highlight some other things that I remember reading in the Electricity Act itself. So they had things like rural electrification. Rural electrification. That's very hard to pronounce. Maybe it's just me. So JPS is actually responsible for extending electricity into rural areas. There's other things like consumer tariffs, consumer relations, and tariffs and stuff like that. And yeah, they are the system operator, so they have to comply with the Act's requirements and so on. So the minister has a role. He's responsible for planning the electricity systems in Jamaica. I want to, big up Daryl Vaz recently. In the previous episode Preston and I did, we spoke about tropical battery, and we did touch on, some of the things in terms of JPS and their, everything that's been happening with JPS. But currently JPS is under fire, under a lot of scrutiny in the public sphere because of very high JPS bills.
You got hit with a high, your bill went up?
Of course. That's why I'm publicly bigging up Daryl Vaz. I am one of those people he's defending because my bill went up significantly, and I just never understood how. Because
do you know how much, like a percentage wise, like how much? 20, 30?
It's less than 20% higher, but it's the highest bill I've ever. This is compared to the highest bill I've ever gotten, and so this bill is the highest bill I've ever gotten. It's about 20. It's about 20% higher, just about 20% higher. And it makes no sense because we never had light for a period. This is Mandeville talking about. Never had light for a period. And we also traveled. I was not even there
So
for a
going there
period
for
too. And this is 2 weeks without light. We never had light
you
for
sure
like
nobody a bridge light?
pretty sure, fam. Pretty sure. Because we would have noticed that from before. Like we would have noticed that I mean our usage has been, you know, relatively good. So if somebody was bridging, it makes zero sense, fam. Trust me. And we had the meter checked and everything. So yeah, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, and it was, I mean, JPS said it was an estimated bill at first, and then it's a whole bunch of stuff. So now the minister himself has been on Twitter, social media, on the news, in Parliament. He's been advocating for a lot of Jamaicans because the OUR, and I'm going to talk about OUR now. The OUR, Office of Utilities Regulation, is actually tasked with the overall regulation of the energy sector. So, that's like setting standards for electricity generation, transmission, distribution, all those things, right? They have to ensure that the standards are set. They have a duty for consumer protection. So the OUR actually has a mandate to protect consumers by ensuring that electricity services are not just safe and reliable, but affordable. And yes, all of this is in the Electricity Act, all right? They're supposed to handle complaints and disputes between consumers and electricity providers. They're the ones that approve like the PPAs, the power purchase agreements. They're the ones that approve tariffs as well and stuff like that. So the Darrell Vaz is doing OUR's job right now. But his job is also to deal with regulation and policy and so on. Another thing in terms of the sphere, because all of this is going to come in handy when we really talk about Wigton, the GPE, right? And the GPE now is is a generation procurement entity. They are an entity in Jamaica. They're a body established under the same Electricity Act. And they're responsible for managing the procurement processes for new energy electricity generation capacity in Jamaica. So their primary role is just to ensure that the country's electricity generation needs are met through a process that is competitive. Yeah, because you have to send in bids. Efficient, transparent. So some of the things they do, their main responsibility is to manage and administer the competitive bidding process for procuring new electricity generation capacity from, power producers, IPPs, so like Wigton. Wigton is an IPP. They produce power via wind, right? So, the GPE itself, they deal with procurement of new generation. They manage replacement capacity too. They ensure transparency. They interact with JPS as well. But they have a heavy focus on renewable energy. They have a very heavy focus on renewable energy. That's something that's very crucial. So, how it works, how I understand the whole bidding process and so on, and this gets very crucial because Wigton has sent in a bid to the GPE. How it works is, so let's say you're a company and you want to access, you want to be able to be a licensed IPP. What you do is, how the bidding process works is, first is like a request for proposals. So that's the first thing. The GPE issues. Oh, sorry. I don't know if that was my AC. The GPE actually issues requests for proposals. So that they invite other IPPs to submit bids for the new development of new electricity generation projects. So these projects can include a bunch of different, renewable energy sources, wind, solar, hydroelectric, etc. And it's competitive. And further along, we'll show you how competitive it actually is. And it's good to be competitive, it's designed to be transparent and so on. So the best projects are actually selected based on whatever criteria they have, whether it's cost, sustainability, whether the company can actually manage the product, the project itself, and so on. And it's open to a lot of bidders. And they have a BOO model, build, own, and operate. This is crucial. So the projects are basically the winning bidder. They construct their own. They have to construct it. Whatever they have to do the project, they construct whatever IPP that they are doing. So if it's a solar project and you need to set up solar, you're responsible for procuring. Well, you get the panels, you get the batteries, you set it up also. So you construct it, you own it, and then you operate it. Right. So for me, it's all sustainable. Right. They facilitate you getting these bids, and you have to basically you're just generating power, and it's actually sold to the grid through the power purchase agreement, and it usually spans around 20 years. So if you apply and you win, basically you have the right to the bidders get to construct, they own, and they operate the power generation facility, and that's pretty cool. And then there's a whole selection process that has to go on, and in recent times, I'm gonna show you a link that's further along. We don't have to go into it right now. What the most recent bid is like, and so on. We'll go into it later. And yeah, that's basically what they do. So Wigton has put out a bid, and we will talk about it very soon. But that's really the GPE. Yes, thank you for that. Actually, see it here? Oh yeah, you can click that link. The 168 megawatts. I think that's the JIS. So yeah, another request for proposal for a further 168 megawatts of renewable energy has actually been launched. It said from April 1. That bid is out there.
No, this one is the 168 isn't the one out now. It was the 100 megawatts. The 168 is supposed to be for, I think, later this year.
Yes, facts. The 100 is out now.
So it said it's to be launched in the new financial year, but it hasn't been, because this is in addition to the supply of the 100.
The 100, which is pretty cool. And we're going to see the short list of the 100 soon. But yeah, you're right. This is not the right link, but there's another link that shows that the 100 is out there now. So there's a request for 100 megawatts. There's a proposal for 100 megawatts of renewable energy that's currently out now. And then this is a further 168 for the new financial year. Then now, I also want to talk about something else that Wigton does. So Wigton actually owns 21% of a company called Flash Motors. Well, they actually own the holding company, so Flash Holdings Limited. But Flash Holdings Limited owns the entire company called Flash Motors. And, their Flash Motors actually does, they sell a lot of electrical cars and so on. And if you look in some of Wigton's reports, they will show that even up to, I believe, March of this year, they sold over about 50 electrical motors in Jamaica, and they implemented certain charging infrastructures in Jamaica and so on. So yeah, they're trying to develop their whole electrical and motor vehicle distribution and charging infrastructure and all of those kind of things. So yeah, that's a lot of what Wigton does. So if we go into maybe the entire just the ecosystem itself. So there are other companies out there that kind of do what Wigton does. There's a BMR in Jamaica. BMR Jamaica Wind. I think they're located around in Black River, in St. Elizabeth. And they do have a wind farm, 36 megawatts. I remember Wigton zone is 62.7 megawatts in terms of the capacity. And there are a ton of other companies, Content Solar Limited, Eight Rivers Energy, right? There are a lot more in terms of in solar as well, and we will talk about solar. And Wigton also has a partnership with a company called IEC. Now, IEC is IEC DBA, and if you look in the annual report, they talk about that that partnership because Wigton has been diversifying a lot. Right, their plans are at first they were just a wind farm. They have they now have diversified their own piece of a company that sells electrical cars, and they have acknowledged that they do need to diversify its business because they do have one buyer who is JPS, but they also have they've stated quite obviously that they also want to get into solar energy. So they do have investments in joint ventures, right? And one of them is a partner of IEC company, DBA. And they're also, IEC itself is listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. They were previously Siboney, but Siboney was bought, and and so they have a contractual joint venture specifically for the design, supply, installation of a 2 megawatt solar photovoltaic system at Norman Manley International Airport. That's Wigton and IEC, right? And that was done. That was completed a year ago. I'm trying to remember how much that contract. Yeah, that contract was worth 7.7 million US, or about 1.2 billion Jamaican. And this is for them to install it at Sangsters International Airport. So there's also that as well. So they have that partnership with IEC.
Yeah, I think it was both of the airports. What I saw was that it was at Norman Manley they did the 2 megawatts, and at Mobay, the Mobay airport, that was the more recent one. That was, I think, 6 megawatts of solar production and 4 megawatts of battery energy storage. So that one was estimated to be finished in about 10 months. And at the time, I think they announced it was January this year. So sorry.
Yeah, it was the starting of the year.
It would finish, well, depending on if there are any delays, it would finish like November, December this year. So both of the airports, essentially, they're helping them reduce their electricity bill, which I think is pretty good because before, if you meant like Wigton just had, they were kind of just, I don't know, dilly-dallying in my opinion. Like they set up their stuff and they were producing the energy, collecting their stuff, not really paying how much dividend, sitting on a lot of cash.
And
then they said that they were trying to look into other like countries and other stuff. But the thing is, they're limited by the government because you mentioned that the GPE is a person that says, okay, Jamaica has this much energy, we need more energy. But Wigton can't just get up and say, oh, let's produce more energy to sell to JPS. It's like they were kind of limited by that. And so I think what they should have done, what they're doing now, they should have done it earlier, was look to other businesses and say, hey, we can help you to reduce your energy bill. Because they kind of like, they shouldn't be doing like, small residential projects. They need to do very large projects because of the size of the business. So that's why, I guess they pushed with like Norman Manley. But I guess part of it also is because the cost of the renewable energy stuff, so one of the things that we should have mentioned, one of the reasons why Tropical and stuff like that are doing better are the cost to set up like a solar system and things like that has gone down a lot. So it's reached the point where it's just very, very cheap. Like it's very, very affordable. So now it's easier to make that switch. Before, at a point, it was a lot harder. But now it's reached that point where more people are taking it seriously. We've learned more about the technology. You're seeing more and more of your friends, more and more businesses doing it. So you feel more comfortable versus being that first mover. So I think that's partly why they've been able to capitalize on this. And I think it's smart. I do think they should look into other businesses too. So they can look into the recurring revenue, so they can set up a wind farm, a solar farm, and sell it to JPS. But they can also look into say, hey, we can do other projects which can bring in some money. This business needs to cut down their bill. Let's set up a solar farm for them. Let's set up a wind farm. Let's set up something just for them, not to sell to JPS, but for them to cut down their JPS bill.
Yeah.
And, maybe some people with what happened with JPS recently, like people can use that as an opportunity. I think we're saying it in our group that when all of this happens with JPS and all the people cussing out the bill, this could be I was saying like a company like any solar company or any renewable energy company should be using this to market hard and just be like,
exactly.
They could drop like some memes on social media, some TikTok, things like that, and be smart and say, hey, like you have to be very creative with it.
No, you definitely have to be creative. You definitely have to be creative with it. And so I also wondered before I read all of these things in the Electricity Act and so on. I used to wonder, so why doesn't JPS just produce it and sell it to people themselves? I mean, why doesn't Wigton, just produce a lot of this, the renewable energy and so on, and just sell it to people? But they can't, based on it's actually 100% illegal. So they have to just sell to JPS, and then JPS sells to other people. But our workaround is doing projects, like what they've been doing with the airports and so on, with other businesses, right? Very large businesses. To look at Wisynco, and Wisynco having, I think they worked with, I can't remember which company they worked with to reduce their energy bill because they've gotten way more efficient. But they could have proposed like a solar or deal or a even wind turbine deal to a lot of these other giant, large entities. So yeah, I also thought at first, I think before a lot of this GPE stuff, I realized maybe a year ago or so, and I thought it was actually a grant. I'm not gonna lie, I swore it was a grant, and they just got almost like free money. But nah, I realized that they actually just facilitate the procurement of new electricity. It's the companies that win are responsible for actually financing their projects, which is big. Often through like they use like equity, loans, other financial arrangements, and so on. So if you look back with Wigton, even their last two, Wigton 2 and 3, phase 2 and phase 3, they were financed through a loan, the Petrocaribe loan, I believe. I hope I'm not misquoting, but I'm pretty sure it's the Petrocaribe loan, and they only got that because they were a government entity at that time. So Wigton was owned wholly by PCJ. Then in 2019, with their IPO, PCG actually divested, the government divested the asset. So they sold all the shares, and it was about 11 billion shares. I remember it because it was my first IPO. Big up Wigton, and big up Mayberry for that, because Mayberry's marketing was good. Mayberry's marketing reached me, so big up Mayberry for that. And they sold 11 billion shares at 50 cents. So the company got about 5.5 billion, if my math is right. A little bit less than that because obviously there are fees and so on. And before that, they took out a bond. There was a couple bonds actually in order to pay back the money to for the Petrocaribe loan. They actually took out bonds before the IPO to pay them back. So it is, I thought it was a grant, but I mean, no grant is gonna give you that much. Well, maybe, and no grant is just gonna give you that much money. And to do that, every year or two or so on. So yeah, but it's just worth noting that, it's them facilitating the growth of the company. That's what the GPA is really there for. And I just thought that's cool. I hope other countries have that. But yeah, it's really to catapult the company that wants to get into renewable energy. So that was just a blast from the past, throwing back to their IPO. But in terms of talking about the IPO, at the time of the IPO, there were two very important things. One, and I would say, actually, it's really one really important thing. There was a 10% shareholder limit at that time, and it's 5 years that was in place for, and that ended April of this year. I'm trying to remember. I knew the date. I don't know why it evaded me. But it ended April of this year, where only one company can hold up to, or one entity can hold up to 10% of the shares. And I think that was in place just so that, you could have a wide shareholder base, and no one company could control the company Wigton. No one company could control it, and so on. But now that's removed, which is very interesting. And I want to throw back to Mayberry's Investor Forum. Preston, do you remember that forum? There was a forum which, funny enough, it got deleted. But I guess we'll still talk about it just for you. It's a Limitless exclusive. And I remember Preston Preston sent in a question to who it was, Gary Peart at the time. And he asked, what was the question, Preston? I don't want to misquote you. Do you remember the exact question?
Asked if when the 10% shareholder limit was removed, because Mayberry, through their stock account, Mayberry Jamaican Equities, they were the largest shareholder at the time. They were just under the 10%. I was asking if they would, buy more, like when they could buy more legally. And he had said essentially that, he kind of had said yes in a way. Like he was saying that, hey,
the man said,
when there's a limit to the amount of shares.
The man said, if you put shackles
yeah.
on a company, right? And those shackles are removed. Man was ecstatic. I thought it was hilarious. I really rate Gary Peart. Because he was very animated and so on. So I thought it was good, because that spells buying signals, and not necessarily just Mayberry, but I know there are other companies that are thinking of increasing their stake. Because if you think about it, and you said the same thing in the previous video about Tropical, and Tropical doing their APO, these type of companies are companies that even pension funds would like, or a lot of investors would like. It's very attractive. And based on the renewable energy targets for Jamaica, right, by 2030, us wanting to have, we heard quotes of 20% of the energy needs coming from renewable sources. Then it's increased to about 50%, right? Based on the prospectus, too, if you look in the prospectus of Wigton, it spoke about how much energy JPS produces, how much, the megawatts, and it was a little bit over 1,000 megawatts of energy. And that was back in that was a quote for 2018, right? That was a study done in 2018 to show those figures. It's about 6 years past. It's 2024 now. More people have ACs, right? More people, place has gotten hotter and so on. There are a lot more people using electricity now, just by virtue of there being more technology, more things to charge. Remember, things used to be battery operated. Now most things are charged. Like, I don't know if you know of. Do you have anything that's battery operated outside of like flashlights and so on? Do you have anything that's battery operated, Preston, that you can think of? Because right now, I can think of maybe a couple things I have that are battery operated. All my things now are charged. But maybe 10 years ago, I used to have like things that, I guess remotes are battery operated and so on. Like the remotes for my AC, or like the TV or something. But most things, you now need to be charging them. There is higher electricity needs when you buy electric vehicles that we're speaking about, because you need to charge that. So the electricity needs have gone up. And at that time, Wigton has the same amount of capacity. It hasn't changed since it IPO'd until now. And in terms of the wind turbines, and they produced up to 6% of the electricity needs. I think it's up to 6% for the island. Now, can you imagine, we have such an ambitious goal of 50%? and our largest renewable energy company is producing just about 6%. Yeah, we have a ways to go. We have a huge ways to go, and I'm very bullish on stuff like this. Yeah, very, very bullish on renewable energy. Not necessarily just Wigton, just renewable energy on a whole. So, let's talk about more of the plans. So, so I spoke about Vision 2030, all right? And there's also, I can see here, is it NCB stating that the registered business name is Wigton Energy. To me, that was just a step for Wigton to take, just to let it be known that, we're not known as a Wigton wind farm. We're Wigton Energy, right? And that's very bold. And it states their intentions very clearly as to what they want to do, right? It's not just windmills anymore and so on. This is solar. This is just energy on a whole. They want to be a part of different energy projects and so on. And I think that's a really good move for them. Now, the other thing that I wanted to click on is the GPE. You sent me this actually, the request for proposals. So that's up to 100 megawatts of electricity generation from renewable energy sources. And I spoke about the BOO basis, build, own, operate basis. All right. See, that first part, that introduction was a preamble for all of this. So, Wigton has actually been, and if you scroll down, you'll see it. Wigton has actually been shortlisted. So it's
these were all the, you should show like these were all the people, essentially they were asking for the 100 megawatts. And then all of these different businesses here, they were part of the people that applied.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, I'd never heard of Blue Maho or Atlantic Ibero, but Innovative Energy mentioned DBA, the company that Energy, which previously was known as Siboney, wants to acquire.
Yeah.
Caribbean Broilers Jamaica, I was actually surprised with. Wigton, Sunterra, Jamaica Energy Partner, who is Jamaica Energy Partner and Inter Energy. They are one of the largest shareholders. They're top 10 in Wigton. They applied themselves. So they bought their own Wigton, and then they also bought into Wigton. They were all, and notice all of them were solar. And there were different parishes, a lot of them St. Catherine, Clarendon, Trelawney. And
yeah, that's Jamaica Energy Partners you're talking about?
No, I'm just saying in general, all of them.
Oh, okay. I wanted to look in the prospectus when we finish. But look in the prospectus, page 47. But yeah, when you'll get there soon. I'll actually send it to you. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I'm saying that most of them went, so the 100 megawatts, the maximum a person could apply for was 50 megawatts. So technically, if two people got 50 megawatts, two people could win. But some IEC DBA actually applied for a bit less. They were willing to do 10 to 12, but most people went for like the 50 megawatts, just as Wigton was one of them. And they even do something here. You see Associated Energy offered price. They were showing you the price of the energy. So ideally you wanted very affordable energy. And if you notice, the most affordable one out of here was the 59 or just over 60 megawatts. Was this price per megawatt per hour? Sunterra. And the other really affordable one was Wigton Wind Farm. So that was why these were the two most affordable ones. So that was why they ended up being the ones who were pre-awarded. So they haven't technically won yet. I think the process, what they said, I guess you're going to get into it, where it's like you're pre-awarded and then you still have some more additional documentation and other things to submit.
Due diligence, yeah.
It's almost like you have the winner and then you have a runner-up. And so if the winner, something were to happen to the winner, then the runner-up would take their place. But Wigton was pre-awarded. But you notice Jamaica Energy Partners was also, they are almost like the runner-ups, and Blue Maho Energy. So if Wigton or Sunterra were to fall behind, then these people, Jamaica Energy Partners, Blue Maho, which I think is kind of an interesting way, because with Jamaica Energy Partners, them buying into Wigton kind of paid off, because if, say, Wigton ends up winning, Jamaica Energy Partners can earn some money off of that. So it's almost like them diversifying, saying, hey, Wigton may win this, so let's buy a stake in Wigton, and then just in case, Wigton wins, it'd be actually interesting if Wigton had won and then Jamaica Energy Partners had won, because then they just eat a food off both ends.
Yeah.
So they don't give what I wish they kind of gave was like more of a timeline on how long it may take for a process, but I wouldn't be surprised it's a few months. I wouldn't, maybe end of this year or early next year.
We need somebody from the GPE on the podcast to explain a lot of this, because people don't know anything about this. And it was hard not reading an act again. These legal documents are very hard to read. Very, very hard to read. Not a fan. But yeah, I would love for somebody from the GPE to come and talk to us about, this process, what their goals are and so on, and what the entity actually does. But yeah, no, these are big, and I want everybody to notice it's not wind that Wigton is going for. It's solar. If you look at the technology, it's solar photovoltaic. So that's big, right? Wigton isn't just saying wind turbines anymore. They're definitely going into solar. So that's pretty big, and I'm proud to see that Wigton has been shortlisted, hopefully, and pre-awarded bids. So hopefully that gets finalized soon, and hopefully everything is in order for the company.
If they don't get through, someone's head is gonna roll. Someone's head is gonna roll, because if you think about how long they have been waiting on something like this, if anybody there ever fumbles the bag, they're out. They're out.
So
there's gonna be serious pressure.
And it's crazy because look at the offered net capacity. It's almost 50 megawatts, basically 50 megawatts. How much does Wigton generate right now? 62.
Yeah.
That's almost double the capacity, right? So your heads would roll. You're so right. Heads would roll if they don't get through with this. Right? That's just the scale to look at it. That's just how I look at it as well. And it's them diversifying too. So this would be a really, really big project for them. So yeah. Very big, very big. So those are some of the plans for Wigton. Don't know if you had anything else that you wanted to state. I guess we can also look at the top 10 as well, because of the who's in the top 10 right now.
Yes, because that had a recent change.
Yeah.
So
look at My Money JA, guys. If you want access to a lot of these things with My Money JA, use code Limitless. Type in LIMITLESS when you're purchasing. Right, it helps us out with the channel as well. But yeah, My Money JA, really good platform, and you can see the changes in the top 10, based on different time periods. I thought this was such a cool addition. Such a cool addition to the app.
Have you see, this is the top 10 shareholders in Wigton Wind Farm up to December last year. And you can see Mayberry Jamaican Equities, or Mayberry stock portfolio, was at 10%. They were at the limit, essentially. And if you notice in March, during January, February, March, Mayberry actually sold part of their stake in also VMBS sold, and ATL Pension. They actually sold. If you look at it, Cacao Holdings wasn't. Okay, notice it says no previous quarter data available. They are essentially like the holding company, I think owned by Jamaica Energy Partners, or I think Cacao owns Jamaica Energy Partners. Yeah, I think that's
which also reminds me to tell you to open up the prospectus as well. Yeah. But Cacao being in there.
And the other thing I should show that you notice during the June quarter, Cacao was actually buying more. So I don't know if that they were, I guess I could look back to see was it that they were possibly buying on the market or like on the open market versus buying from directly from like another shareholder through like a transaction? And MJE also started buying back some more shares. So I guess we'll see, like, will they be going back? Because they're still the largest shareholder. So will they be trying to increase? Because the other thing I noticed, Wigton normally pays, I think they're paying like one dividend a year, but I noticed this year so far they've paid, since 2024, they've paid 2 dividends.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a switch that they're trying to be more aggressive with the dividends now. But you're asking about the prospectus.
Yeah, Cacao is I remember, they were Jamaica Energy Partners. But when I first looked at Jamaica Energy Partners was the prospectus. Look at page 47. Just type in 47 at the top, and you'll notice. So this is and you can scroll up for a bit. So this is a table. I'll scroll up even further to the previous page, 46. Now this is a table that shows, as you see, that was the current generating capacity of each producer at the time. And so they showed you JPS producing and how, like, their capacity, right? And the technology that they use, HFO, heavy fuel oil, ADO, I think, is automotive diesel oil, and so on. So, this is how they produce their energy. And you can scroll down and see. So some of them you see run of river hydro. So they have some hydroelectric, but it's not a lot of capacity. You notice the capacity, it's all very small. And they also do have some wind turbines as well. But then you see Wigton. So Wigton does have 62 megawatts, 62.7. Jamaica Energy Partners, look at them. They produce quite a bit of energy. Yeah. They have like triple the amount of energy that's being produced by Wigton. So it was just cool to see them there as well. But they still obviously use, like heavy fuel oil, diesel, but yeah, they're also up there in terms. And look, total contract capacity, about 1,000 megawatts. And then it says the company, this is Wigton now, the company's contract capacity is approximately 6.16% of the total contract capacity of all IPPs, including JPS in Jamaica. So Wigton at the time, which was 2018, only produced about 6% of, the contract capacity of power in Jamaica. So if you think about it, even right now, that's probably less than 6%. So let's really see where renewables will be going. I'm seeing more bids. I like the amount of bids that have been, sent into the JPE. I'm seeing that next year, GPE, sorry. Next year they want 168 megawatts instead of 100. So, that's more megawatts.
I hope they don't stop with that though, because they really need to push for more to get to their goals. They need to step it up, because you don't wait till 2029 to get the 2030 goal. You push from now.
You push as hard as you can.
It takes probably at least a year or so to set up some of these projects. These are very large projects, so it's not the thing that you wait till right before to set it up if you really do want to hit that 2030 target.
Agreed.
Another thing we should have mentioned though, I think you had it somewhere, that there was a new they got a new managing director, Wigton.
Yes.
You should have saw that as an interesting. Here it is. There is. So this
was on a Mayberry Forum, I think, too.
Yeah. So the CEO, sorry, Mr. Gary Barrow. He was the previous COO of JPS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can imagine, like, if he was still at JPS, he'd be experiencing a lot of flack. But now look at him, switch to Wigton, and he's
chilling. Well, maybe not chilling. Yeah. I hope he's doing a lot of work.
Yeah. I hope they're sorting out that bid.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the actual interview. Yes. It was 2 months ago. I remember watching it. Mayberry Investor Forum.
Remember
You
I
guys
asked
can
him if
check
he'd
that
buy
out.
some shares.
You remember his
I think he
answer?
said yes. Yeah, I think he had
Yeah, he
said
did
yes,
say
kind of
yes.
like he had
I
said
remember
yes.
it too.
Again, last one I'm going to give to Limitless Podcast. Will you be, but I'm quoting him, Gary, I didn't make this up. Will you be buying shares, Mr. Gary Barrow? Shareholders like to see management having skin in the game.
Certainly, and I will. Actually, I wanted to before now, but of course, we were in a blackout period, so I was not allowed to buy any shares as an officer of the organization and being privy to the financial information. I think that blackout period, having submitted our financials now, should be coming to an end, and definitely there will be some skin in the game.
Good deal. And I promise you in 6 months' time we need to add some kind of share compensation to your salary package to keep you motivated to see the company do well.
Yeah, that's big. That's big. Okay. I mean, that's just a comprehensive overview. Well, maybe not as comprehensive as I'd like, but it's a good little talk about Wigton and just electricity, that sector in Jamaica. If you guys like this kind of content, please like the video. It would do so much for us. And subscribe, all right, if you want us to do more. I guess Preston's showing you something, yeah?
Yeah, so you guys remember this is tickers. You guys can actually vote for the next stock that we review. We will drop the link in the description and you can just type in here, put the actual ticker of the stock. So say you wanted dollar financial, you put dollar. You wanted separate, you put SEP. Can pick which stock that we review next. Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably put that, we want tickers there, the ticker itself in the question, in the prompt. But yes, guys, whatever stock you guys want us to talk about and analyze, we will do it. And, I'm not as detailed as Preston into the whole numbers game and high analytics and working on PE and EPS and stuff. That is good though. Don't get me wrong. And I do it sometimes, but I don't want to, I don't want to, not for tickers, not me. I guess I'll do it when it's really necessary. And yours was really necessary for Tropical. Guys, if you like that Tropical episode or you never watched it, we will leave that link. All right. Preston spoke about a possible APO, right, and a possible raise and what that would do for the share price. I thought that was pretty cool and very insightful. So yeah, if you like that kind of content, guys, just please subscribe, share it with a friend, because equities are back, right?
Did they ever leave?
Never. Investing forever. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Limitless out.
Peace.